I think the most expensive mistake is choosing the wrong business. I think we wish someone had looked us in the eye and said, this is not passive. I think a good franchise gives you a proven playbook, but it doesn't really remove the need for leadership. Leadership is actually critical. You don't have to be in the four walls every day, but you really got to know everything about your business. We also wish someone had emphasized fit over fascination.
Really, this is the biggest shortcut because you're getting a guide.
When you work with us, you're getting multi-brand perspective. Our role is to protect you long-term.
Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm excited to introduce two people I've admired for a long time in the franchise space. It's John and Erica. They have 22 years in franchising with multiple exits, dozens of locations, and hundreds of people guided into business ownership. They bring a really good mix of experience, humility, and real-world wisdom. John and Erica, welcome.
Thank you, Bennett.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Excited. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Excited to jump into this and explore what the heck the consultant world is. I mean, we were just talking a little bit before. Like my first business that I bought, Dirty Dough, didn't know consultants existed. You guys said the same thing. Like we bought multiple franchises, didn't even know consultants existed. And then once you know that they exist, then you're like, okay, well, how much does that cost? And that's kind of the cool thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost you any more to go through a consultant than to go direct, which is really cool. So
yeah.
But jumping right in here, John, first question is for you. So you guys have owned 6 different brands. Across all 6 brands, what did you learn that made you want to help other people do it the right way?
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey, Bennett. And I think this is such a great role for Eric and I because we could use that experience that we've had over like gains and losses, successes and failures. And so really, over like the 6 brands, very different brands as well, we kind of kept seeing the same pattern. It's that the right franchise, could change your life. And it changed Eric and our life for sure. We've had such a cherished life, but the wrong one can also make it like harder than it needs to be. And so to answer that question, we've learned that really, success isn't just about picking a hot brand. We've done that. We've looked at the shiny brands that look really cool or look pretty, and that's really not the way to go. Really, it's the alignment between, I think, 3 things. First and foremost, you got to have the right model. If you don't have the right business model, it's not going to work. So the business model is critical. 2, you got to have the right leadership team. You got to have the right level of support. And when those 3 things line up, the system actually works. That's the whole thing about franchising. When they don't, even a great brand could feel like pushing a boulder uphill, and it's not fun. So we also watched other owners inside of those same systems. Some thrived, some struggled with really the same playbook. And that's really what made us want to help people in terms of what we do today. And so a big part of what we do as we help individuals is we help them make those right choices and avoid those big mistakes that could really be challenging from the start.
Awesome. And you don't even know what the mistakes are, right? Until you've made them. And that's where the
Right.
experience comes in, not just in length of time, 2 decades, but also 6 different brands across different industries. So in that, obviously there's a lot of wins. There's also some failures. And you guys have had private equity exits as well. So Erica, this one's for you. How have
Sure.
those experiences shaped the way that you help people buy franchises today?
Yeah, those wins have been great and the failures are painful. And we've had both, like you mentioned, Bennett. So it really makes us much more realistic with the people we work with. We tread lightly and we are cautious. We cautiously approach, and we use that with all of our candidates. On the positive side, yeah, we've had exits to private equity, which really showed us what sophisticated buyers really value, which is one, they really want clean financials. They also are looking for recurring revenue, strong leadership, and an operation that doesn't really just fall apart if the owner takes a step back. So we bring that lens to our candidates so they're not just buying a job. They're buying an asset that could be sellable later. That's really important. And then on the other side, closing the business taught us where things can go wrong. Lots of things can go wrong. You're choosing the wrong role for yourself within your business, or you're underestimating your working capital. or assuming that semi-absentee means you don't really have to truly learn your business. John and I had an experience with that where we thought, we could do this on our own, let the business run. We're going to run it semi-absentee and really not be involved with the teams. Well, that fell apart. So all these things could go all pose big challenges. So when we guide our candidates now, we're constantly helping them really see both sides. How does the model work in real life and what needs to be true for it to work for you? Really important.
I love that. And then like the starting with the end in mind, like what do you want to do in 3 years and 5 years and 10 years? Do you want five locations, one location? And with whether you have one or five, do you want to sell it? And who do you want to sell it to? And everybody's just like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, no, I'm just looking at buying a franchise where because you guys have been through it, you can say, well, what's the purpose of it? What's the long term goal? And then I love also what you said, like it helps you be realistic because I don't know. For me, the entrepreneur, you have those rose colored glasses. Everything's like so much easier than it actually is until you try it. So lots of, trial and error. But on the other side of that comes success and experience. So
Yep.
lots that goes in there. John, if you were rewinding the clock before you bought your first franchise, what do you wish somebody would have told you before you even jumped into it?
That's a good question. I think we wish someone had looked us in the eye and said, "This is not passive." I think, is probably critical to understand. I think a good franchise gives you a proven playbook, but it doesn't really remove the need for leadership. Leadership is actually critical, when it comes to business ownership. Hiring, training, managing cash very carefully, especially in the first 12 to 24 months. It's so critical to understand all the nuances of the business. You don't have to be in the four walls every day, but you really got to know everything about your business. So you still have to build a team. You got to create the culture. Well, people are going to want to work for you, not always necessarily because of the brand, but they're going to work for you. And you got to be ready to solve problems in your particular market. And if you're not present, it's going to be really difficult to guide those individuals. What else? We also wish someone had emphasized fit over fascination. It's really easy to fall in love with a brand as a customer. And I think what really matters more is, will you enjoy the actual like role of the owner playing on a daily basis? Are you going to enjoy being in that business? Does it fit your strengths, your family, your risk tolerance, maybe your financial goals? And I think if more people had that conversation in the beginning, fewer would feel stuck later.
I completely agree. I love the focus on the leadership and the yeah, semi-absentee is like, well, you're still in it. You still have to
You're
do
the
it. Now
leader, right?
you can pull back once you figure it out, but you need to know when your employees are telling you the truth or not, right? And the only way you can know that is if you're in there, and you understand your business. And then you mentioned the fit over fashion, which is, or sorry,
Fascinating, yeah.
Fascination.
and then you mentioned fit over fascination, which I think is really cool. Most people just look at the fascination because we don't even compare options. I mean, like 90% of people that buy business are looking at five businesses or less. So how do you even know what fits you when there's 4,000 options, but you looked at five and you didn't even know which five to look at? You just looked at the first five that came across your table. So I love that. And in order to do that, you have to have options. The largest one by franchisees placed is franchise, which you guys are a part of. To my understanding, franchise is larger. It helps more people buy franchises and obviously guiding the right person to the fit is having those options. So love to talk a little bit more about franchise. Erica, if you can help me out here. What does that skill give the average buyer that they can't get anywhere else?
Yeah, Bennett. So that scale really gives buyers pattern recognition and access. So I'll dive into what that means in a bit. But because franchise consultants, such as John and myself, we're just two out of about 100 of us in the country. We collectively work with thousands of candidates and hundreds of brands, and we're constantly seeing what's working in the real world, what's not working, what is working, where owners are validating well. We want to hear from the owners and how happy they are, right? You want to hear about that if you're getting into a brand. Where's the leadership strong? You definitely want leaders that you're going to be partnering with, great solid founders, and where are systems being followed successfully? So, really, by the time you sit down with us, you're not starting from a blank slate. You're choosing from a curated list of brands where a lot of the early red flags have already been filtered out.
I love that. So tons of time saving because I'm not going to be looking at all the brands that don't fit my needs. And, a lot of people come in, they're like, I need to make 100 grand. And then they just look at brands that don't disclose profit. And you're like, maybe that's not the best way to go because that doesn't really line up with your goal. But we still do it, right? We still make those mistakes because there's just too many options. So now FranChoice has narrowed down that, there's 2 to 300 premium brands, but even that, each one has 200 pages of legal documents. How do I narrow it down? How do you guys help narrow it down to help the someone researching franchising save those, months and months of time?
Yeah, yeah, happy to take that one. And I think that's really an important part of this. A lot of people they really just start by Googling, top franchise concepts, and they don't know they're just getting sponsored, right, ads in front of them, and so they end up kind of overwhelmed too. And I think our process really just flips that, Bennett. First, what we do is we begin with like a really deep conversation about you, the candidate. What's their background? What's their available capital? What are their income needs? Like, if you need to replace your income in corporate America, what do you need in terms of that replacement? The timeline, the lifestyle goals, and ultimately, what do you want your day to day to look like as an owner? And so from there, we apply filters across investment range, owner role, hours. Do you want a business to business concept or a business to consumer concept? Do you want a brick and mortar versus a service, reoccurring revenue, and more? So there's a lot of characteristics that we seek to understand if it's going to be a good fit from an alignment standpoint with our candidates. And so instead of you chasing like random brands, what we do is we bring back a short list, often three, sometimes four, sometimes even could go up to six options that really fit the model that we build with the candidate. And so it takes, what could be months of scattered research, it really turns into like focused step by step evaluation process.
I love that. And there's just, again, so much information out there that the typical process is I'm going to go to Google. I have my 5 franchises. I'm going to see if any of these fit my box. Well, I haven't even defined what my box is at that point because I don't know how to define it because I don't know how to ask the proper questions, which here comes like the consultant world, right? That this unknown world that I would say 70% of buyers don't even know about. And the ones that do know about it, some of them are scared of it because they think it costs so much. It's like, okay, yes, I would love to have someone that's been in franchising that's like Erica, that's owned 6 brands guiding me through this. But how much more is that going to cost me? So, Erica, if you can tell me about that, like most buyers don't realize that they can work with a professional consultant at no cost. Why is this the biggest shortcut in franchising?
Yeah, Bennett. So really, this is the biggest shortcut. This is not a shortcut John and I knew about when we got into our brands. Maybe the last two, but not the first four. So really big shortcut because you're getting a guide. I mean, how amazing to have a guide walk you through this process. And with that guide, you're getting a filter without adding any cost to your investment. Our services, John and I, are paid by the franchisors. So you as a candidate looking at franchising, you pay the same franchise fee whether you work with us or go directly to the brand. The difference with is that with us, you're not doing this alone. I mean, how amazing would it be to not navigate this process by yourself? You essentially have two coaches working with you, and you're not limited to the one brand that happens to answer your inquiry. You're looking at a curated list of franchises that has been aligned with your model. So we really help you clarify your criteria. We interpret what you hear on franchisor and franchisee calls. That's really important. And we help you slow down when emotions want to rush you. That will happen. The fear and anxiety is a normal part of the process. John is a certified life coach, so he can help you work through that process. And really, that combination of perspective and structure at no additional cost is why we say it's the biggest shortcut most buyers don't know exists.
Couldn't agree more. Like, why would you want to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars without a professional guide when you can have one at no cost? And the other thing to kind of point at that you mentioned, like the franchise fee is the same either way. Um, but there's still differences if I'm gonna go with a consultant and you guys are guiding me through the process versus if I go directly with the brand and I get connected with their sales rep, right? John, can you walk me through what are some other differences and advantages or disadvantages?
Yeah, 100%. So look, when you go directly to a franchisor, you're talking to a representative of one brand. And that's not to say that that representative is not going to be a great representative, but you're just talking to one person. And their job is to help you understand that specific system. So when you work with us, you're getting multi-brand perspective in real operator experience. And that's a big part of why individuals like to work with us because we've had the successes, we've had the failures, we've walked the talk, we've been owners, we've been master franchisees, we've owned multiple concepts, scaled units, shut down some units. And so, we've spoken with owners across many different industries. And what we can do is we could help compare options side by side, understand owner roles, and see how each concept aligns up with your goals and your risk tolerance. I think that's really important. And then also we're a neutral sounding board. If the best decision is to slow down, widen the search, or not move forward at all right now, we're going to tell you. The last thing we want to do is get into a compromised situation where you're challenging your financials, you're challenging your 401k. We don't want to do that. We've had those challenges before and we would never wish that upon anybody. And so our role is to protect you long term, make sure that you have a long term fit and not really push you into a single brand.
I love that. And you can do that only when you have enough options, right? Because if I have one option, I can't really say this is the best option for everybody I talk to. And that's what you get when you go directly with, again, a franchise consultant for a specific brand. Nothing wrong with that, but everything has to be the best option kind of for that, where it's like, okay, maybe this brand looks great, but because of capital, we need to find something that costs a little less. And then you guys can help navigate that. Without a consultant, it's kind of like, crap, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to start from ground zero again. This takes too much dang time.
Mhm.
And on the topic of time, Erica, this one's for you. If I were to go directly with you, how can I save 30 hours of research by just spending one introductory call with you?
Yeah, well, you know how time is so critical, right, Bennett? So left on your own, those 30 hours could be comprised of late night Google searches. I mean, I've been guilty of that for other things. I usually am looking for travel, but when you're looking for a franchise, I mean, you could be Googling hours and hours and not sleeping, and that's not good. You'd be filling out dozens of lead forms. One lead form for each franchise you might be interested in, sitting through webinars for endless hours and really trying to make sense of oftentimes very conflicting information. So, in one structured call with John and myself, we really compress that chaos into clarity. We ask many, many targeted questions about your background, your finances, your time frame to open. What are your goals and your vision? And we define your investment range. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to be an owner operator or do you prefer to be semi active in your business? As well as we dive into, getting into what success actually looks like for you. So those are really critical elements of trying to find that fine tune that process. And really by the end of that introductory call, instead of 4,000 possibilities of different franchise concepts out there, you're really looking at a focused path and a curated list of options that already fit your criteria. And then all the brands that don't make sense for you are quietly removed from the table, and you move forward with those that are the best franchise fit for you.
I love that. And it's having that framework and then guiding someone through that framework, but really knowing what to look for in what order and how to do that. Um, awesome. John, next question's for you.
Yeah.
Franchising can be expensive, sometimes
Yep.
more expensive for some versus others. What are the most expensive mistakes you see buyers make? The things that are costing them tens of thousands of dollars that they probably don't even realize it.
Yeah. Another great question. I think the most expensive mistake is choosing the wrong business for the right reasons on paper. And let me explain. I think that so that usually shows up as a, falling in love with like a product or a logo. I don't know how many people came up to us like, I really love this logo. I want this business. Or I really love this industry. I got to be in this. And, they're not really fully understanding of like the owner's role, like the working capital requirements or the realities of staffing and sales in that particular market. I think that people can end up in a model that looks good on a brochure. It's very flashy, but oftentimes it doesn't really match up to who they are or who they want to, what they want to do in terms of lifestyle. And so I think a close second is also understanding working capital, Bennett. Many buyers budget for the build out and the franchise fee, but not enough runway to get through the ramp up period. Eric and I have had a challenge with our first concept. We thought we were going to go bankrupt because we spent way too much. So I think both mistakes are preventable if you ask the right questions and validation and really build a realistic financial plan with your advisors. I think that's really the key.
Awesome. Appreciate that. So if someone's watching this, you guys have shared tons of information on the franchise world in general, but also the benefits of working with a consultant. If someone's watching this and like, okay, what's the next steps? I'm thinking about buying a franchise. Hopefully they realize that there's no harm, there's huge benefit and there's no cost as far as the downside goes, um, in meeting with a consultant. So, John, what do you feel like the first actionable step should be for someone in that scenario?
Yeah. So I think the first step is not picking a brand. Number one, it's really getting clear on you. Who are you? So really sitting down, defining your like non-negotiables. How much can you realistically invest? What income do you need the business to replace or create? And how long are you going to have from a run rate standpoint? Other things that you want to be able to consider is how many hours do you want to work? And what kind of role are you really good at? Are you good at a sales role, a leadership role, operations role? Are you more, more aligned with mentoring a team? And I think once you have that clarity, and then, then talk to a consultant or have a consultant like ourselves walk you through that entire process because we can help you pressure test those assumptions, refine your criteria if necessary. And only then I think you could start matching brands to the life you're actually trying to build. I think that's probably the key step.
So that first introductory call is kind of like, okay, we could get the framework there. So, Erica, the first step is scheduling an introductory call to see what the best path is, if any, with you guys. If I do so, what is the time length? What am I committing to? And what do I walk away with at the end of that first appointment?
Yeah, sure, Bennett. So, an introductory call with us is really just a structured, no pressure conversation, usually lasts about 30 minutes. And we'll really dive deep into your professional background, your current situation, what your financial picture looks like, and really what's driving you to consider business ownership right now. The why and the what is really critical for us to understand. We'll talk about your goals, maybe your concerns, and what a win could look like in about 3 to 5 years from today. So, having that vision is also really critical. We'll also dive into explaining how franchising really works from our perspective and our experience, what our role is in this process, and then what the process looks like from the first call to the final decision. You'll walk away with three things: a clearer picture of whether franchising is even the right path for you. Number two, a defined set of criteria for what would make sense for you. And if it is a fit, a plan for which types of concepts we'll explore together next. So that's a really short way to explain what an intro call looks like with us.
And navigating the huge world of, again, 4,000 brands and like, what do I do? Okay, with 30 minutes, I can get all of that
Yeah.
rather than trying to go research for 30 hours. So I love that. What's the best way for someone, for anyone who wants this expert guidance, no pressure conversations, and access to the best brands? John, how does somebody get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the simple next step is to schedule an introductory call with us. There's a link that we're going to provide in terms of the contact information. Just pick a time that works or send us a quick note with your availability. We'll connect, learn more about your situation. and we'll see whether it takes, it makes sense or not to explore franchising together. Again, there's really no cost, there's no obligation, there's no contracts, there's no exclusivity, there's really no pressure. It's just a chance to get expert guidance, ask your questions, and really see if this path aligns with the future that you're trying to create. That's simple as that.
John, Erica, I thank you for sharing your time and your experience with us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Our
Thanks,
pleasure.
Bennett.
Thanks for having us, Bennett. Appreciate it.
Thank you.